And Lunch Talk Live continues now, and we are joined by the head football coach at Vanderbilt. Derek Mason joins us. He's about to enter year 7 of the job in Nashville. Coach, there are so many things going on in the country and in college football. I love your perspective on all of that, and we appreciate a few minutes. Why don't we just start with what is the most important thing happening within the country right now? And you were very honest, put out 7 tweets Saturday night regarding the situation with the violence and the protests and everything else. Your perspective from where you sit in Nashville and what you're watching on TV screens around the corner and around the country.
Well, first of all, Mike, thank you for having me. I think right now, as we sit in this country, I think we are at a point now where there's got to be conversation as to where we want to go. Here's what I know. I know a young man was on the ground trying to, and ask, for help. And I believe he did everything right. And at the end of the day, he loses his life. And that's the story for a lot of young people across the country. Men of color, have really, had to sort of figure out exactly, how to feel right now. And that's a tough thing. I just gave one man's perspective. And my perspective is this, we can't have silence and we can't have violence. We got to find a way to get to the middle. But, a lot of times violence comes when anger has gotten to the boiling point and we've reached a flashpoint. And right now we've got a flashpoint in America.
That's as good a phrase as I've heard to describe what a lot of us are feeling, that what is the something between the silence and the violence? The protests are calling attention to it. The people who are getting in the middle of the protesting are ruining the messaging of the moment and ruining lives in addition to that. And it's pent-up frustration. It's a lot of things that is societal. You made a very interesting point in your tweet, and you talked about the exhaustion and anger felt by people of color, some of your players you've coached over your many stops over the years, just in terms of how they need to comport themselves to avoid dangerous situations. Can you expand on what you were trying to get to there?
Yes, I'll give you an example. I remember being 16 years old, and my stepfather, who's a military man, William Manuel, he gave me a lanyard to put around my neck. Okay, and that lanyard was to put my driver's license and my registration in, so that if I ever got pulled over, okay, I never had to reach suddenly and across, or I didn't make a movement that was misconstrued as being in a quick sudden movement, whereas to cause attention to me. And it's those conversations that I think our counterparts and people who we love and people that we share locker rooms with and even share cubicles with, a lot of times don't understand. That's been, in the life of a lot of, young black men in America. And this, I can say this much, at the heart of any issue is a heart issue. And right now, this is a heart issue. We've got to look at the morality of where we sit today, because again, a young man did everything right and found himself in a position where he lost his life. And I think that's where we sit right now. I have players that want to know, Coach, what do I do? Okay, man, and what happens? And we've got to be able to speak, to their fears and anxieties, but also, we've got to be able to talk about empathy, okay, and compassion, because if we don't empathize or we don't understand, and I'm talking to my counterparts, if we don't empathize and understand, well, then there's never going to be an opportunity for us to sit together and have and at least listen to a solid conversation about what we can do to get it right. Because right now it's totally broken and it's totally wrong.
You mentioned your counterparts. We often discuss the racial makeup of the 32 NFL head coaches. We don't necessarily use that conversation as often to deal with the Power 5 coaches or all Division I college football coaches, or really any level, because it's not the level of football, it's the place that the coach holds. You're the lone African-American coach in the Southeastern Conference. Any of your peers in the SEC reach out to you for further understanding and how to handle this conversation in their own locker rooms?
You know what? I think it starts at the top. Greg Sankey reached out to me on Sunday after he read the thread of tweets, and we talked. We had a great conversation, And I mean, many of my counterparts in this conference are really good men. Okay, man, and they know they. What I can tell you is that 85%, 75 to 85% of the players in this conference look like me and you. And so when you understand that dynamic, we have to have transparent and legit, conversations. We also have to be able to acknowledge what these young men are going through. And so, I mean, whether they reach out to me or not, I mean, I don't think is the big issue. I think the idea is that there better be an opportunity for you to understand, what these young men are going through. Because if we don't, okay, man, what we're going to see, okay, man, even within our own locker rooms, which is a place where I think we can fix a lot. Okay, man, our locker rooms do what, society can't do. Okay, you have people that come from different places, okay, all the time, different value systems, different experiences, and what they learn how to do is listen to one another. Okay, that's where I believe coaches, okay, can have like one of the largest impacts on really what's going on right now. And it's not just football; it's across sports genre, period. Because the locker room is a place where it's not about things that divide us; it's about things that unite us. And for us to sit and listen to each other's stories, and understand one another is how we can really start to bridge the gap. Because you got to touch one person before you can touch two. So, man, we've got to find a way, man, to get this right.
And you're right, in your locker rooms, especially at your place, a terrific academic school, as most everyone knows, plus where you are in Nashville and where your campus sits, too.
Right.
I think for the folks who haven't been there, Coach, one of the striking parts is you walk outside of the gates of Vandy and you are right in a downtown area in Nashville. And that has become such a melting pot with the people who live there, the people who have migrated there, the country music scene, the travel, the visitors. There's such a melting pot right in that area. And that campus might be one of the most unique places to be able to not only have these conversations, but also to see how they live out on an hour by hour basis.
Absolutely. In Nashville, I mean, it's unique. Okay, we sit in the South. Okay, man, it's probably one of the better cities in the South when you start to look at, man, what it has to offer. It has business, it has sports, it has, commerce. It's a thriving city right now. But I think, like many cities across the country, it also has, gentrification issues. It has things that have really, like started to become, like very pronounced, like in this community. And for me, and I do know and understand this, and people here are great people. Nashville's a great city full of people, men who know how to speak to one another and know how to, get to the other side. But I think what's happened, especially as we've seen, a little bit of rioting here, a little bit of looting. Okay, it's out of anger. It's out of, man, frustration of not being heard. And again, okay, what we see with George Floyd is an opportunity to really have people not be silent. Okay, what we know is that when you can't look at that video and not be touched by what transpired. Okay, right, wrong, or indifferent. The simple truth is that again, a young man did nothing and found himself, losing his life. And I think again, people, it's not just color. I think right is right and wrong is wrong. And so many people saw this that I think there's an opportunity here. If we can get past the silence and the violence, okay, man, and find ourselves getting to the middle, the conversation can be real.
Glad you reinforced that. And you have some amazing people to lead that conversation on your campus. The first female African American
Yes.
athletic director in the SEC there on your campus. I know Steph White, your basketball coach. You've got some really brilliant people to be a part of that conversation. Let me just turn it to football here real quick. What is the update on seeing your players and getting them back on campus for those voluntary workouts, which the SEC has approved, along with the umbrella of the NCAA?
Well, man, I'm excited, man, to be getting our players back, but it's a phased approach. And how we get back to college football. I think, man, for us, much like everybody else, when we got the news about bringing our young men back, that was great. But what we needed to do then was make sure that our procedures, protocols for health, safety, and welfare of student athletes as well as staff, were in place. And I think we've done that. And our student athletes are working through physicals right now. They're working through testing, and we're going to have a small majority of our student athletes back on campus and working in the month of June, and that's what I'm excited about. I'm encouraged, but we got a long way to go. But this space and this moment right now, it has really created somewhat of a tough time, man, for our student athletes, man, because they're going through a lot. Okay, man, they're having to process a lot. And, what I've encouraged them to do is just continue, man, to believe in one another, to trust one another. And between Candace Story Lehman, our athletic director, Tim Corbin, Stephanie White, and Jerry Stackhouse, we're all, man, banding together, man, to make sure, man, that we can wrap our arms around this athletic community.
You mentioned Stack too. I should have included his name.
Yeah.
One of the terrific people in sports that I've been around who's coaching men's basketball. Can we leave on this topic, because I had David Shaw, who you worked for 4 years at Stanford before this opportunity at Vandy, and we talked about that term student athlete. And when it's used, usually I hear folks in my business, media peers, bristle at it, look down upon that term. At Vanderbilt, that's a real term. The kids go to school, and they're not taking basket weaving. They're taking real classes, right, and they're a part of the academic community. Can that coexist, given how much money is in the SEC and in college football, in the profession that you're in? Can you be a successful organization, football team, with students who are also athletes?
You know what, for us, the price of not being able to do that is too expensive. We've got to be able to get a handle on where we sit, and I believe with interim Chancellor Susan Wente, with what we see with Daniel Diermeyer, our new chancellor coming in, along with Candace. Nashville is a big city, okay? That feels like a small town, and all the special things about Nashville really bleed over into our campus. We have an exceptional place. We have an exceptional opportunity. And graduation, like I tell, like my parents of my student athletes, my job is to give you a better product coming back than the one you dropped off. So the idea of being able to compete, in this deal is something that we have to do. We step in the classrooms and compete against first-round draft picks in corporate America, Monday through Friday, and then on Saturdays we got to compete with guys, man, who are looking to get drafted on Sunday. So for us, that's a great draw. It's a great opportunity. I think our time is now. And so 2020, with all the things that are going on, and Vanderbilt is poised to do exactly what it needs to do, which is lead the way.
And people are going to love the draft pick that you sent to Tampa Bay. It got drafted Keyshawn Vaughn behind Tom Brady. He's going to be an impact guy. Some good football players come out of Vandy. Coach Mason, thank you for your perspective, your honesty. It's great to cover you, great to catch up with you again, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Mike. Take care. God bless.